everybody. Good Sunday morning here in San Francisco, where it is 0500 and change for what is day 4 for our show number 743, day 4 of the Louis Vuitton Cup, the rounds robin phase. We actually do the end of round robin 1 and the start of round robin 2 today, as we see Alex Hayward checking in from the UK. What's the difference between the America's Cup and my hangover? I don't know, Alex. Stingray up in Seattle, where it's also 500. Good morning to you, sir. Mark Holland, the host with the most. Good morning to you, sir. We have two gentlemen standing by again today, our stalwarts, Gordon Smith in Copenhagen and Graham Sweeney in Scotland, up in Yell on the Shetland Islands, standing by to give us expert Coke commentary today. Let's carry on with the slides, as I want to thank right off the bat Rich Fishbeck. When we got off the air yesterday after that marathon session, the longest session we've had, I found out on the stoop here at Beach Street Yacht Club, much to my surprise, a breakfast burrito. Thank you, Rich Fishbeck, for sending that to, sent one for me, one for Julie, who's upstairs in the Commodore's suite. Much appreciated. And by popular demand, we'll continue doing these LVC watch parties every day. Tomorrow, we're not sure if it's a reserve day, a lay day, what kind of a day, but I think if we don't get the full complement of racing in today, it will be a race day. And that'll start us again, as usual, on race days at 0500 here in Pacific, 0800 Eastern, noon UTC, 1400 local time in Barcelona for those of you in Central Europe. We will do our regular 1300, our Tuesday afternoon show this Tuesday, the 3rd of September. We skipped Friday, but I'll have time to prepare that show. And Julia wants to come down and be a part of that as well. So we'll do that on Tuesday regardless. Monday will be a reserve day, we think, meaning a reserve day as opposed to a lay day. A lay day is a day off, come hell or high water or no wind in previous days or whatever. A reserve day is one that's held in reserve in case they need to make up races from previous days. If you want to join us via Zoom, as Graham and Gordon have done, you can join us on our standard meeting ID, 267-220-6570. And the passcode is 1851, as we see Commodore Chris Odorowski joining as well. Chris, turn your thing sideways if you can. It'll get us horizontal landscape there. And I'll go over to start with Graham Sweeney. And Graham, let's go to you, because we are just 3 minutes after 5 here, which is about 11 minutes to air time, to race time, if in fact they get off on schedule. Good morning, Graham, Gordon, and Commodore Odorowski.
Good morning, Tom.
What do you think, Graham? What's your marquee matches today?
Well, I would like the Brits to beat the French. The Swiss and the Italians, that's going to be a good one. I mean, the Italians haven't got much to prove anymore, but the Swiss do. So that'll be one to watch. And then obviously you're racing the favourites. So those are the ones I'm watching out for, to be honest.
And Gordon, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Ineos had better watch out with Orient Express, because that could be telling if it doesn't go well. And again, like Graham, I think American Magic against Emirates should be an interesting matchup.
Commodore Odorowski, you look like you're with the Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club. Over your shoulder.
I'm sitting with the Commodore of all Vice in the New York Yacht Club.
Good morning, Commodore Harrington. Vice Commodore Harrington is what yacht are you all aboard today?
We are aboard John's yacht, John Heel.
John Heel. Hi, John.
Hello. Yeah.
It looks a little overcast there.
It is, but there's actually wind. It's actually wind here.
Good. How much would you say, Chris?
I'll tell you.
What is the wind saying now?
14.
Yes.
14 knots, Tom.
14. Okay, well,
14,
that's certainly more than predicted. Let me go back to the slides for a minute. The results going into today, or I should say yesterday, we had a win by Luna Rossa over New York Yacht Club's American Magic in that first race yesterday. That was one of the marquee races. The French did not show for their race against ETNZ. Good to see ETNZ back on the water. Also, we had Alinghi and Ineos going at it, and Ineos won that race. And then American Magic beated. What kind of a word is that? American Magic beat the French Orient Express after that, and then Luna Rossa beat the Brits in the final race yesterday. They did not get that Alinghi Red Bull and ETNZ race in yesterday. So there are the standings, not counting the Kiwis, because their win-loss record does not count for the Louis Vuitton Cup going forward. It is 3-0 on Luna Rossa. They're at the top of the leaderboard, having won all of their races against the other challengers. This is a double round robin. Each of the challengers races each of the other four twice in this round robin phase, which is ending in the next couple, 3 days here. Ineos is on 2 wins, 1 loss. New York American Magic has 2 wins and 2 losses. They've sailed an extra race now, vis-a-vis the others. Orient Express on 1 win, 2 losses, and Alinghi Red Bull Racing on 0 and 3. So at the end of the rounds robin, 4 of those 5 teams will go forward, will go through to the semifinals. The first place, the top of the leaderboard, getting to choose which of the other 4 they will select in their semifinal, in their respective semifinals. Those are first to win, I believe, 7. Is that right? First to win 5. Chris, do you remember if it's first to win 5, or maybe the Commodore remembers?
I thought it was 7.
Yeah, maybe it's first to win 7, but I think the semis are first to win 5, and then the finals are first to win 7, but we'll check up on that. Maybe Gordon or Graham know as well. One more slide to show here is the racing scheduled today, we believe. They're going, and it, by the way, has
John, is it best of 5 series?
Yeah, best of. They're confirming now best of 5. Best of 5 for the semis, and best of 7 for the finals of the Louis Vuitton Cup. But I don't have a feed yet coming in from ESPN, by the way. Your event is starting soon, it says. So we'll carry on here for a sec more, as today we have 5 matches, I believe, scheduled. The one left over from yesterday, the Swiss versus the Kiwis. And then the next is the regular race day schedule for today, the 1st of September. My goodness, it's the 1st of September. The Brits against the French, the Swiss against the Italians, the Americans against the Kiwis, and the Swiss again against the French. That is the race schedule for today. And my forecast was for quite a bit lighter breeze at 1400 at race time. And the good news is it looks like we've got, hopefully, more breeze out on the race course, because it's showing a little light here at 14. It was showing on Windfinder 3, gusting 5, which is below the 6.5 knot wind limit for the lower wind limit, of course. Although it shows it ramping up, 10 gusting 10, so maybe that's what we have out on the track already. That's the good news, I think, coming in from Otto and from Vice Commodore Harrington from Claire. Is that what you're seeing, as much as 10 knots, maybe more?
14.
14.
There's good breeze out here.
Okay, well, you sure have nice regalia on. It looks like you're fully branded up there with team shirts. Chris, what is your hat, Chris?
It's all about the look. All about the look.
Well, it's all about the wins, and we've got some marquee matches today, folks, because as you well know, the first match is not so interesting because it doesn't count, the Swiss against the Kiwis. The second match is the Brits against the French, and that is interesting because the Brits, the French, and the Swiss are all on that second kind of tier, second rung. And it looks like the Brits are the better of those 3. But one never knows. I'm going to mute all of you on because we got background audio there. I'll mute all of you on the Zoom call for the moment. Then the next match is you have to restart yourself, Chris, there when you're ready to talk. Likewise for Graham and Gordon there. Swiss against the Italians. That's probably not that interesting a match. The Brits against the French, that second match should be, I think, interesting.
Excuse me, Tom. In the first match, I've been trying to indicate to you, the Swiss are already disqualified.
They are.
They didn't enter the race sequence.
Well, why don't I have a feed here yet on ESPN Plus? Does anybody else in the States have ESPN Plus? So did the Swiss fall off their foils or have a technical problem?
No, they were outside of the race area, but I see they've continued to sail, so I'm wondering whether they've just decided to ignore the disqualification and just race anyway.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Gordon. I do not have a feed yet. I'm going to go back and try it again. Louis Vuitton Cup round robin. I do not have an ESPN feed here. As those of you watching, tell me if in the U.S. you've got an ESPN3 feed here.
All of the rules and the structures for the September 10th debate. The vice president posting on X saying,
I hear another. That doesn't sound so good. Okay, we'll try again here to tee that up if the cable is a problem.
I'm going to ask him if they've agreed to these details on the mics and what they are doing about debate prep.
That would be interesting. Something to watch.
The open might work for him in that very corner.
Bloody hell. Haven't had a problem. We can see that they've also got a weather problem in Puerto Portales. Okay, we'll work on this cable situation here. Again, are you seeing a live feed, Gordon?
I am indeed. It's excellent.
Okay, and you're on you're on YouTube?
Indeed.
Okay. Well, you saw my...
if I could just comment, they're beating up the first leg. Kiwis are leading by 145 meters and now both sailing towards the upper left side. There seems to be plenty of wind. The swell is moderate to calm, would be my reading of it. It looks like the wind will be, I'm guessing from reading the color of the sky and the waves, I don't think the wind will drop off anytime soon, which of course it will do the moment I've said it.
Well, it looks like on the race course they have pretty good breeze, so they've gotten a good early start. Normally they don't start till 14 minutes after the hour, but better today. We're going to try again here, getting the ESPN. I wonder if any of the other seeing same on ESPN Plus. So in the States, there is no ESPN for some reason. Gordon, you're watching on YouTube. I may have to go to my VPN and try it on some other stream because ESPN seems crotonic at the moment. Yeah, are they racing alone, Gordon? That is the Kiwis?
No, as I said, they showed a DSQ at the beginning, but they're now both racing together. New Zealand were about 16 seconds ahead at the top mark, unless I read that wrong. Graham, you butt in, please do. I'm having trouble seeing. I think the Swiss are going downwind left, I believe. I've got half Zoom and half YouTube on my screen. And I'm now... Okay, I'm not quite understanding what I'm seeing now. I'm now seeing a cutaway to somebody inspecting a mast.
We're finally getting a feed.
Maybe Graham wants to butt in.
We're finally getting a feed here in the state. Carry on, please, guys.
I have not a clue what is actually happening here, I'm afraid, Gordon. Why they cut away from the racing to show a man up a mast, I do not know.
I am I'm now getting the race course again. I've got a penalty shown against the Swiss. They're both doing about 40 knots, which is promising. They've got the wind shadow diagram on the screen, which shows the wind is at the bottom and bottom and is the bottom end of the course, but on the left-hand side upwind, if you understand what I mean. Emirates has sailed out of that, and they now look like they're going to sail back into the bottom end wind shadow. The Swiss are pursuing them. They're still 190 odd meters behind, which means they're kind of staying in touch. Comments, Graham?
Yeah, I mean, they're. I think the Swiss are soaking down a bit deeper. Not quite sure which one they're going to go for. It looks like they're going for the right-hand side. But yeah, I mean, they're racing, and I don't understand why Tom's not getting it, to be honest.
We've just gotten it here now in the States. Thank you to those of you who said you were getting it finally. I don't know what the delay was, but we've got it now. And it looks like the Kiwis are around through the top gate. And Delta was 18 seconds at the top gate. Kiwis ahead of the Swiss. No penalties indicated here on the big screen for the Swiss. And plenty of breeze. They're both foiling nicely. And thank you for covering us there for a minute because we didn't see what was going on. Shocking behavior by Alinghi. They should get extra penalty points off the water. Alex Hayworth is saying. We're all going to catch up here. There's John von Landegem. Hello, John. Yeah, Bill Wiggins. Everybody's saying they finally have got it here in the States. I don't know what their delay was, but nonetheless, we're all back up here. And Krasmir says that they were DSQ, but are choosing to race. Automatic DSQ because of the double penalties at the start, apparently. But we'll go back now and listen to the audio coming off that feed and see what they have to say. Now, do you in the States have audio? I don't seem to have audio at the moment. That's not a good look. Well, now I do. Okay, that's better.
Are good. I mean, how do you think they should really... 380,
regardless, it's not much of a race because the Kiwis are ahead by 380 meters. They got audio finally. I guess ESPN Plus was having a shock this morning. Some graphics are showing SUI with a P, some do not. Mark Holland is saying, so they are having a shocker over there. Maybe if we can get Commodore Otorowski, Chris, out on the yacht. Can you hear us, Chris? And what are you seeing out there on the track? Chris Otorowski, can you hear me? We've got Gordon Smith in Copenhagen and Graham Sweeney, as usual, in Scotland. They've been two stalwarts here, and now we're trying to get through to Chris Otorowski, who's out with Commodore Harrington, Vice Commodore Harrington, out on John Heal's yacht. But there is, yeah, I don't know. I've got plenty of coffee, Rick Bannerow, thank you. But we're seeing ESPN Plus, or the croutons here today, sadly. But looks like it's normalized now. No, I've just had the audio down a bit, Denise. I've got them up. 500 meters the lead, the Kiwis over the Swiss now.
Of course, the defender not looking for points from the round robin. They're looking for learning, and for sure they're trying new kit.
SUI will get more penalty points from the arbitration panel, Alex Hayworth is saying. Well, this was never expected to be a great match. The Swiss are arguably going to be the first ones to go. They're at the bottom of the leaderboard going into today's racing. This next match, the Brits and the French, would appear to be more interesting. And the third match, the Swiss against the Italians, that probably won't be so interesting. The fourth match, the Americans against the Kiwis. Now, remember, the Americans are the only team to have beaten the Kiwis so far in this racing. They beat them in, what was it, day 3 of that preliminary regatta. They're the first only team to beat, that is the Americans, to beat the Kiwis in the AC 75 racing to date. And then the fifth match today, if they get to it, sounds like they will, given the wind strength. The Swiss against the French, the two bottom dwellers. That should be interesting and perhaps pivotal. 10 to 14 knots and no white cap. Something doesn't add up. Rick Banner was saying, yeah, I'm not sure that what they're seeing is 14 knots, but maybe 8, 9, 10. Good window for coffee. Yep, go get a fresh coffee, Denise. Are you in the USVI? Where are you today, Denise Balzac? Chris Exley, 45-second delta at Mark 3. Excuse me. Kiwis in the lead.
Even on the downwind, just how deep powered the sail plan is. Really flat and clean.
On PR, that's right. Denise is in Puerto Rico. Maybe soon to be the 51st state, depending upon how the elections go.
I think inside's better for waves.
I said to Graham and to Gordon I wouldn't talk politics this morning, so we won't. But it's disturbing. Any of you of the Jewish faith will not be, and anybody else with a heart and a brain will not be amused with what happened overnight in Gaza. That's okay. That's all I'm going to say.
And we're lucky to be able to hear that.
Any idea how long to this next start? It'll be within 10 minutes.
725 meters now.
You want to just go upwind a bit? Yeah, just go back onto 2. One more drop.
And we don't even know if the Swiss are technically legally racing, although I think they are, gang, because if the umpires had called this off,
I think if we're going to go left,
what is that?
we'd go up. But yeah, I can see them right up by that yellow cap. Just can't get by this.
I guess the Kiwis are going uphill. What is going on here?
Yes.
Emirates Team New Zealand not approaching the mark for the leg 4, so maybe, just maybe, they've decided they've done enough for today.
2, 1, and 4.
You know, the rest of the world must think we are nuts with this sport, because they took the graphics off down here at the bottom because it was showing the Swiss in the lead, because Kiwis apparently turned around and didn't go to the gate.
Angle.
They're going downhill. Maybe they're going to go back and re-engage the Swiss.
What do we say?
Yeah, looks like 14.
Both boats
maybe they've been
pulling the pin on this race, Stephen. So
maybe they've been advised by the umpires that the race has been awarded to.
Mark. It's pretty clear that both teams have called it for this race. So
even the commentators don't know what's going on.
3.5 legs, maybe, of what we saw.
It was almost hard to go fast mode on this stick now. Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
They've had enough for today, really, Mark Holland. Yeah.
With these waves, I think.
There's Commodore Rodorowski working on getting reconnected.
Wonder what was going on there for a moment.
Okay.
Decide to pull the plug on this race.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, Alingi there couldn't make the start time. It was a real shame. They had an issue with their mainsail and mast track, and did a time run from the port and didn't quite make it by a couple of minutes. So we were just doing a bit of practice sailing against them, but yeah, it's a real shame.
Did you give the lads the go fast card today and say give it a good thrash to just get them any potential wrinkles out after the fix?
Confusion everywhere. Who's on first, Andy Cock? Well, there, I think Ray Davies has sorted it out officially for us. He's saying that he was saying he's their coach. And by the way, a hell of a good bass player. I don't know if Claire Harrington can hear me, but if you ever get in a musical group over there in Barcelona, Claire, get Ray on the bass while you're playing the keyboards. I'll come over and play the guitar or something. But I have played in a TP52 World Championship prize giving with Ray.
really a long way left.
and a
to
couple
what we
others.
normally see. So,
In a rock and roll
good
show.
going, but,
Denise may have been
conditions for
there.
these boats now. Look forward to
Where was that? That was in
3 more good
Portugal
races.
too, I think, some
Confident
years
is that
ago.
feeling, Ray, of seeing
There's
Toyota
Ray
from
Davies
a
there
ride like
on
that.
the screen on the coach boat, the Kiwi coach boat.
These are the conditions that all the boats are designed for. You know, that sort of 10 knots, and it's a real showcase of
10 knots, he's
where we're
calling
going
it.
with these
So I don't think there's as much as
technology.
14, but it does look like, because this Rick Banero said there's not evident,
more of these conditions.
you know, you get, depending upon the density of the water and the temperature and so on, you get white caps or white horses, as you in the Commonwealth might call them. Horses' tails, yada, yada, but white caps, as we call them in the States, you get that at 10, 11, 12, you normally 12, 13 knots. Again, depending upon the temperature and density of the water. And, the, you know, if you've got wind blowing with or against, or sorry, seaway with or against the wind, the current or seaway. Let's listen in.
Michael, Matt, Thomas, they're all head down, tuning over the data. Dalton's keeping an eye on things.
It's Grant Dalton.
Of course he is.
Out there with the team.
Nice, mate.
Thanks for your time, buddy. Talk soon.
Okay. Now you can see the Kiwis parked up there. Well, no surprise. Gordon Smith, you had that called correctly there at the start. Gordon, what's your analysis so far today? We'll give you the lead.
Well, I think the wind on the course looks decent enough. I think it's a shame Alinghi didn't, you know, had that DSQ. I don't think the result or the practice sailing, should we call it that? I don't think there were too many big surprises. I think said this Ineos Orient Express match is of interest because it'll firmly place this LRPP in my mind are clearly out front at the moment. Ineos and AM are clearly not at the same level. I don't understand this mythical top level that you say AM, and they're not. They're more in the Ineos class, and then at the moment what we're seeing is Alinghi and Orient Express in a kind of a following group. What we'll probably get from confirmation this next race is that correct? Is Ineos better than Orient Express or just better sometimes?
Well, the French have been pretty good at times. The Americans have been, I disagree. I think the Americans are a cut above the Brits and the Swiss and clearly the French. We'll see. But I do agree with you that Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli looks to be a click or two ahead of the Americans at this point, notwithstanding that the Americans did beat. Again, they're the only team that beat the Kiwis, so that's why I put them a little higher in my book. Gordon, thank you for that. Let's go to Graham Sweeney in Scotland and see what Graham is thinking this fine Sunday morning, my time, Sunday afternoon in Copenhagen. Graham?
It's a bit of a mixed one, Tom, isn't it, really, with the boats that they're lined up with today? Because really, it's not going to tell us much at all. The UK against France is going to just show that maybe the French have got a little bit more under their belt and we haven't seen it yet, or the Brits are just going to take the win. Swiss and Italians, no one's been as quick as the Italians yet, I don't think. I think they're the ones to watch. They really are.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And of course, as you well know, all of you know, the whole deal in the Cup is who improves, who continues to improve through the trials. And you get through the rounds robin, and then you get the semis when the Kiwis are gone, and now you've got the top four challengers going at each other in knockout. You know, and that's a different style of racing. Round robin racing is always a different mentality. It's a little bit different setup for the boat. But when you get into a knockout series and you're racing the same team over and over again, first to win 5 in the semis, I think we confirmed that with Chris Otorowski, and first to win 7 in the finals. So whoever wins those semis gets the finals, and the match itself is first to win 7. And so the finals of the Challenger Selection Series, the Louis Vuitton Cup, replicates the match as much as possible. Yeah, Pricey, David Price is saying we're looking at a replay here, and it's a round robin 1, match 7, which is a match from yesterday. It's the Americans against the Italians. As they're waiting to get the next match underway, having abandoned the first one today, the Swiss against the Kiwis. The Swiss did not enter properly, were double penalized. The match was awarded by the umpires to the Kiwis. And now we're waiting for the Brits and the French, which is Gordon and Graham have both said looks like it could be an interesting session. Meanwhile, replay of round robin 1, match 7, which is from yesterday. When they say match 7, they're counting each of the matches sequentially in the respective round robin. And today would be matches, 9, 10, and 11 or something. The Americans led. This was a good race. Probably the best race of all of this AC 75 racing, because there were indeed 3 lead changes. John Rogers, I'm going to buy you a pencil. Good morning, John, down in San Diego. I hope your radio-controlled yachting went well. In fact, I may jump to that. I'll wait for you to sign in, John. The Zoom link is 267-220-6570. I maintain it day to day. It's the same number, the meeting ID, 267-220-6570, passcode 1851. We maintain that for all of you each day. Stingray saying, yes, American Magic and Luna Rossa was an excellent race. And it was. And I think we're coming up on one of the first lead changes we'll see here. Was there a lead change on the first weather leg yesterday? I don't remember. But it was interesting. It was a good race. Today, Mark Holland is saying the match numbers are actually 12, 13, 14, 15. And Mark, do we have 11? Is that the hangover from yesterday? Was that what that first match, Swiss and Kiwis, was that 11 in terms of the big picture? But anyway, we get John Rogers signed on here on the Zoom. We've got here's closing up. This is the replay again. But I think the Americans got through the top gate in first, didn't they? From memory, I don't remember. Doesn't matter. There were 3 lead changes, and then Luna Rossa probably went on to win the race. Correct, Mark is saying. So we just have seen match 11 awarded to the Kiwis, and then we're going to see 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we're in sync with the TV. I think everybody's a little, not me. I had a half of an NA of a non-alcohol beer last night with dinner. Everybody's a bit, I think I'm just bleary-eyed after doing this for 4 days in a row. Nice to have you all on. It is Sunday morning, 5:33 here in San Francisco. It's 14:33 in Barcelona, Central European time. Richard Lawton checking in Port Orchard, Washington, up near Stingray, who's in Seattle. Alex Hayworth observing, and I think you're right, Alex. We've been saying this as well, that it looks like they're double dismasting. Actually, they've lost 2 rigs. That he's saying that looks like that's destroyed their campaign. Ernesto will go again in Jeddah. Alex, thanks. Happy Sunday to you, Denise Balzac in Puerto Rico. Do we have Otto? Oh, we got John on down in San Diego, and let's get him stabilized there. And we've got Commodore Claire Harrington on. Let's go to Commodore Harrington. Claire, if we've got you with a good signal, do we have audio up for Claire? Claire, can you hear us? Are you?
I can indeed. How are you?
Hey, there we got you. Vice Commodore Claire Harrington. What's your expectation for the wind? Is the feeling there it's going to be a building day? Because we did see that it was predicted to build to 10, at least my prediction was to 10, gusting 10 at 1700. But maybe you're already there. Maybe it's come early.
Hang on, I'll check. Oh, what is the wind speed currently? 12 point moment. but there's plenty of breeze here. Plenty of breeze.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And we'll see if the water surface looked a little less than that to those of us, but what do we know? Watching by kind of by remote here, I'll mute your audio at this end. I wished Glenn a happy birthday, and he responded to me during his commentary. Alistair Murray is saying. So good morning to you. It's 10:30 in Sydney and Melbourne. Mr. President, Alistair Murray, President of Australian Sailing. Glenn Ashby, of course, on the commentary, but we're watching now a replay, so not so interesting. We all know the outcome of that race yesterday, as there were 3 lead changes as between the Italians and the Americans. Good race, arguably the best race we've seen. As we're in delay waiting for the next match to get ready, the next match being a marquee match today, at least I have it as a marquee match. The Brits against the French. The second of what we think are going to be 5 matches today. Claire, let me ask you, and Otto, Chris Ottorowski, let me ask you if you know if the tomorrow is a reserve day or a lay day. Meaning if they don't get all the matches in today, will you be racing there tomorrow?
Tomorrow is a reserve day.
Meaning there could be racing. They're checking there. I understand from the media center and Richard Gladwell that it's a reserve day, and that's what it says on the schedule, meaning if they're not up to speed on all the matches, if they've lost some matches, there could be racing tomorrow.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we're still watching here. Thanks for that, Claire, and Chris Ottorowski aboard John Heal's yacht there in Barcelona. Vice Commodore Claire Harrington of the New York Yacht Club. Chris Ottorowski is the past Commodore of the Cruising Club of America and a former Commodore up in Seattle of the Seattle Yacht Club, longtime friend. He and his wife, Sean, presumably are out on that yacht. As we continue.
She's right here.
Yes, there's Sean. We got Sean out there too. Hello, Sean. What's the temperature? Is it, gang? Is it cooler there today, Sean? Yeah. Okay. Well, that maybe explains the wind. East southeast. Okay, we'll come back to you in a sec. As we're watching this replay, I got John Rogers down in San Diego, as you maybe saw there. John, how are you, sir? How are you this morning? John Rogers, do we have you on?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Can you go horizontal as well? Go landscape?
Yes.
There we go. John, I have a video from you from yesterday. I'm going to do the setup here, but and then come back to you as it pretty interesting stuff you were telling us about on the feed yesterday about your radio-controlled racing. You're an avid RC yacht racer yourself, and as do a lot of others who join you on the pond there in Mission Bay in San Diego. Looks like you're quite comfortable. Let me run this video that you showed us yesterday, and then we'll come back to you for comments.
There's the model yacht pond. Sits at like 265 degrees, almost straight east and west. The ocean is right out over there. So the bridge to the ocean goes out there, and Mission Bay Yacht Club is over here. So the Mission Bay is, near Mission Bay Yacht Club is just right over this resort kind of conference hall right there. But there you go. Model Yacht Pond is a pretty cool place.
So that's a video that John sent me yesterday after we had that discussion on the watch party, the Model Yacht Pond in Mission Bay in San Diego. Is that your yacht in the foreground, John?
Yeah, that's called the Laughing Dragon. Laughing Dragon 3.
The Laughing Dragon 3. Center yourself up in your shot, John. Come on, wake up. Good morning.
Yes, I know. I'm trying.
Just
I'm impressed by you getting up every morning this early.
Well, I'm actually I'm obviously doing this too much because I'm waking up before the alarm at 4 o'clock. So I think part of it's the excitement to join all of you here on the watch party and watch what's going on. Stingray is saying he loves his Victoria, is it called a Victoria or a Victoria RC yacht? Alan Long, mini RC 44s. What do you call that a class of yacht? Is that a TF 95?
It's called a DF 95, which is a Dragonflight 95. They're little one design boats. The rules are you have to use everything that's in the box. There's nothing you can really change. You can upgrade a little bit on the parts, but it's 950 millimeters. And they just the local dealer at radiosailing.net, Chuck LeMahieu from Texas, he regularly brings in containers of about 500 boats, and for about 3 years, the wait list would be massive. I mean, people would wait 3-4 months for their boats. Now, Chuck has everything in stock. He has no problems. He gets the containers.
Here's the model.
And the boats are about just under $500, and with corrosion prevention, they last a long time.
DF 95, you call it?
DF, yes, Dragonflight, and then
Dragonflight,
the Force
Delta Foxtrot.
Yeah, and then the Dragon Force 65 is 650 millimeters for people that want a little cheaper model. But the 95, as you can see from the picture, it's just a fast, quick little boat. And we just had the Nationals last week, and there's a lot of good, especially retired people that travel the country and race all kinds of RC boats, including the DF 95. Mark Gollison is probably maybe the most famous sailor that regularly races and has won Nationals a couple times.
Yeah, Mark Gollison, who's up in Long Beach, famously good race officer as well as sailor from that big family of sailors, the Gollison family. Yeah. Andrew Davola is checking in. Good morning, good evening to you, Andrew, who's in Australia, better known as Dolly, and he is an avid windsurfer and has been for the better part of 40 years. And a hell of a good windsurfer, even at his advanced age. He's up there with me. He says the DF 65 is more popular in Australia, John.
Yeah, the 65 really got established down there. A guy named Phil Burgess down there, who's really kind of popular guy that does a lot of videos and stuff, has really promoted it. And in the U.S., a lot of people have taken to the 95 more. But the DF 65 Nationals are, I think, in a month or less up in Mason Park in Irvine.
Okay. Well, keep us posted on that. There's a lot of interest in RC. Do you call it RC yachting? RC, what do you call it? What's the...
Yeah, they call it RC yachting, and there's just so many different classes. And I do a lot of teaching in the boats. I have on my YouTube page some videos on it and how to build them and how to sail them.
Okay.
A little bit.
Great stuff. Thank you, John. John Rogers in San Diego, where it's early in the morning as well, 5:43 in the morning, because we're getting ready to go yacht racing in Barcelona. This is the Brits now preparing to race against the French. And as you heard Gordon Smith say, it's interesting to know if the French are on the rise and if the Brits are maintaining or also on the rise, because it's, as Joran Peterson, the former president of World Sailing, used to say, there's no excuse for excellence. It's who steadily improves the most throughout this series and beyond. 2 minutes, 30 seconds is the call. Let's go look to see what we've got from the commentators.
Ineos Britannia, they're going to be open-minded about what's going on. A lot happening.
Here comes the entry for the Brits coming in from the upwind port end of the starting line. They enter 10 seconds early from the port end, this to avoid the yachts from coming bow to bow, which of course used to be a popular feature of match racing. And they have entered, boy, it almost looked like they entered early, depending upon the clock, if you believe the clock, and Orient Express likewise. In. And with this much breeze, hopefully we won't have those whirling dervishes. We won't have those leftover vortexes, causing problems for the yachts that sail through the other yachts' turbulence. Kind of like when you're listening to air traffic control and they're saying, yeah, this is Qantas 722 heavy, meaning to everybody on the frequency that they are a jumbo jet. Those jets leave a hell of a turbulence in their wake, as do these yachts. Hello, Ed Worley, checking in SoCal as well early on a Sunday morning. Julie Aarons in Cleveland checking in. Good morning to you. Sunny here in Cleveland with reasonable temperatures, high in the 70s. Less than a minute now. Both boats heading back on starboard tack.
France coming for the push.
French trying to get a hook here on the Brits. There's the dotted overlap line, the graphic. Doesn't look like the French will hook the Brits. Again, I don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're watching it here in the studio, in Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club. It looks like it's going to be a pretty even start, split tack as the French presumably will tack off. Boy, the Brits are right up there against the line. I think there's something wrong with these clocks vis-a-vis the clocks that the yachts are seeing, the official time. Oh, no, the Brits were over. OCS for the Brits. There's Richard Gladwell. You can hear the chief umpire saying to the Brits, you're on the course side. There's been a big controversy quietly behind the scenes about the software package that's provided by the Defender. It's a Chinese software package that all the teams have, and they cannot get inside it and modify it. And they've been saying that it's Crutonic. Not just one team, not two teams, but a number of teams saying that it is not accurate. And the Brits, I'm sure, are going to say after this, hey, the software package said A, and the race committee said Z. GBR still showing as OCS, GBR not going back. Now they've removed the OCS sign because they apparently now they just have to do that 75 meter.
Let's go on to chase boats here with Peter Lester. More winds, more aggression in the start box, Peter.
They don't have to go back and restart. They just have to fall back far enough until the umpires are happy that they have taken a distance penalty. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
To fall back behind that leading boat by 75 metres. But this turns this one into a real cracker of a race.
French ahead of the Brits as this race continues the 100-meter delta up the first leg. There is a close-up of that graphic.
Boundary there, the electronic boundary of the boat there, just over the start line.
That diamond is the umpire's graphic for the yacht.
To being behind, but the accuracy is down to 5 millimeters.
And there's going to be a big discussion afterwards about the software. And the Brits no doubt will claim that the software is Crutonic. Patrick Keys, good morning to you. Thank you for your kind comment.
Opportunity for the French team, Orient Express. I mean, really just sort of calm down, stay with the opposition.
The truth is, we are ahead of the running commentary. They likewise are watching it in a sound booth. Peter Lester's out on the water, but Steve MacGyver, the host commentator, and Shirley Robertson, the Brit, who's a double Olympic medalist and superb, she is in a booth as well watching this on shore or in, I'm not sure if they're on shore or where they are, presumably on shore, in the TV compound. And then, of course, Glenn Ashby as well, the esteemed Australian superb sailor, multiple Olympic medalist. There is Sir Ben Ainslie, obviously not amused, and trailing by 200 plus meters. Philip Laffin, good morning to you. He's in Florida, Davis Island, near the Davis Island Yacht Club, one of my favorite clubs in this country. Boy, from that video, you'd wonder why They're on leg one. I guess the television angle was cretonic. Hello, Tom Pace. Good morning. He's in Pensacola, past Commodore of the Pensacola Yacht Club. Thanks for running your show again today. We are in last of the 103rd GYA, the Gulf Yachting Association Sir Thomas Lipton Cup. They're in the last day. Pensacola Yacht Club is defending and has a 1-point lead over the Buccaneer and 2 points over the Gulfport Yacht Club. As the French are through the top gate the first time, we'll see what the delta is. There come the Brits. The Brits are behind there. Higher speeds today, 41 knots than what we've seen in the past. There's the delta, 13 seconds. The French ahead of the Brits by 13. We'll see if the Brits' downwind speed, their reputed downwind speed, if they can climb past the French. Now those lines that they're showing is the computer generated simulation for the ideal track and its boundary sailing, as you can see, but also supposedly taking into effect the pressure that is now being projected digitally onto the water by the computer, the Capgemini computer program. 50 meters closing up here, leg 2 of 6. Triple sausage, 6 legs, windward leeward. Brits closing in.
Let's go to chase 0. They're both ripping, Pete. Can you see any advantage anywhere, particularly boat speed?
Yeah, I like.
Are they going to get to the boundary and jibe, and then the Brits are going to jibe in the disturbed air of the French?
Wings out here. Look good on the downwind. For Orient upward looked really strong. I thought she looked very.
The RoboCop look. Don't see Ted Turner in his old engineer's cap. Come on, Ben, chase that French girl, Krasimir. Naumov on again today, as there are the Simo jibes. Krasimir in Bulgaria, the Brits still trailing up slightly to windward of the track of the French. 70-meter delta. They'll go over to the other boundary. Excuse me, as several of you said, one of the sad things about this racing is that the boat astern, the yacht astern, cannot project a wind shadow on the yacht ahead because they're always sailing upwind. The apparent wind is always coming from in front of the yachts. Andrew Pindar saying hi to the great Tom Pace, found this summer checking out, guess they met at Foiling Week at Malchesine. Andrew Pindar, the Brit, famously good Brit, leader in our sport. Welcome to you, sir.
The fact that they've Simo jibe means that they're both bow on bow.
Here they come, it's across. The French, the giveaway boat on port. I don't like that shot. Give us an, there we go. Thank you, guys. Give us the overhead. The Brits on starboard, the French taking their stern. We have a lead change. What happened to the circles? Normally they put a green circle around the right-of-way boat.
Advantage, Ineos Britannia. As a complete leg 2, but only just. Orient Express Racing.
Yeah, look at the Swiss are going to fall off their foils with that crazy Ivan there at the. Yeah, a bit of a, what's Shirley saying?
Really
well, they managed to stay on their foils anyway, but that dipsy doodle there at trying to make the gate, they will have lost some distance. The Brits in the lead, a lead change. Bloody hell. Hooray. Bravo Zulu. I think Claire Harrington is enjoying this lead change. As we've got Graham Sweeney there in the upper left corner. We've lost Gordon Smith for the moment. We've got Commodore Harrington along with Commodore Odorowski. There's Graham celebrating the Brits. What do you think, Graham? Are you enjoying this?
I'm loving it, Tom. I'm loving it.
They're showing the replays now of that cross. We're back to live racing. It's pretty close here, Graham. Talk us through this. Is there a quarter of way up the leg?
Well, it looks as though we've got the speed, but I'm not so sure we've got enough speed. But it's we should for what we are, we should be faster. But we don't seem to
hey,
be.
Graham, you got to get excited like those Sail GP commentators. We got another lead change, the second lead change in this race. Hooray, bravo Zulu.
It's too long in the day to have a trouser change, I'm afraid.
Best comment of the day. And now they're showing, according to the GPS, they're showing the French back in the lead. Maybe more pressure left. Although the wind map shows more pressure right. Maybe the French, who knows? You got speed differences. You got, boat handling differences. You've got pressure differences, and you've got shifts. That's what yacht racing should be about. They're showing the French in the lead, so technically we could call that a third lead change. I'm going to keep little ticks on my day book here on how many lead changes, because it does look like the French are back in the lead here by 100 meters or so. That's the actual TV coming in on ESPN+. Again, this is a bring your own video. We're just commentating with a bunch of you from around the world. The Brits chose to duck on the last crossing, John Harper is saying. Did we not have that lead change? I thought, yeah, we did, because the Brits were in the lead and then the French. Now here go the French, and the Brits dialing them down a bit. They dialed them down a bit, the French crossing astern, ducking, as we would say. Julie Aaron's cheering for the French because she's cheering for the Kiwis, and she knows how tight the Kiwis and the French are. Although, interestingly, anyone else find it interesting that the two times the Kiwis and the French have lined up, the French have failed to show? Does that mean anything to anybody? Was it on purpose, or did they really coincidentally have breakdown problems or technical problems in both those races? Lead change number 3. No, 40 meters. There's not much in it. The Brits back in the lead. I count that as lead change number 4, or am I Crutonic? There is a slam dunk, an attempted slam dunk. Last time we saw one of these attempted, we saw the Kiwi sail right past to leeward, and that's what we've seen again. I think that slam dunk was not effective, Sir Ben. I think the French sailed past them to leeward.
For GBR there, Shirley, the French on lay for left turn.
And a penalty to the Brits.
Towards the top gate to complete the halfway mark. The penalty clear. French get a huge advantage.
How do you, I mean, they tack too close. Now they give them a tacking too close penalty. I didn't see that last time. The Brits have erased the penalty already. And remember, it's just a slow down till the umpires tell you you don't have to slow down anymore. 50 to 75 meter loss. Okay, and the French in the lead now, 20 seconds the delta at gate 3. Mark Atchison saying, fantastic racing.
This is the race committee. We are moving the windward gate, shifting the course axis.
I think, Christy, you saw the reason the French didn't tack is they were laying that upwind left end of the gate. And they're in the lead. That's the French going downhill in the lead. But as I was saying, back to the video, you want to have your own video, whether you're somewhere in the world where they're showing it live on YouTube. Let's watch this incident again. The Brits did try to cover them, but got a penalty in the process. Apparently that was tacking too close. The other day it wasn't, when the umpires made a similar call. There's Ben looking over his shoulder.
Looking out the window. And a wonderful pass there by Orient Express Racing.
A wonderful pass by Orient Express. Julie Ahrens does not like Alinghi. She's cheering for the French because she wants Alinghi to go home at the end of these rounds robin.
Still so close.
200 meters.
Onto the water with Chase Zero, Peter. This one's going down to the wire, which is way too early to call.
Yeah, it's a beauty. I've got Ineos on the last time they came on this downwind leg. They took about 10 boat lengths out of Orient.
They're showing on the TV now. They just showed only 6.8 knots of breeze. Better have your winds. Of course, that's masthead on that huge yacht that Claire and Chris Odorowski are on. Claire Harrington and Chris Odorowski. We'll just call them the Commodores. Roger Lockhart's got 3 screens going. He's got our watch party, ESPN Plus, and he's got the Grand Prix in Monza, the F1 in Monza, where the Tifosi will no doubt be out in force cheering for Ferrari, as they usually are at Ferrari's home race. One of my most fun moments in sport, I think, was going out on the grid after I was with McLaren at that time, and we had won the race in Monza back in the late 90s. And the Tifosi, the fans, the Italian fans, can't be kept off the track. And they all came swarming over the fences and through the fences, and the police gave up. And there was this massive sea of humanity on the track at the Monza Grand Prix, just outside of Milano. French leading into gate 4. So Julie Ahrens will be happy. Alan Long thinks that Ineos has consistently better boat speed. There go the French. There are the Brits surrounding the downwind left or upwind right into the gate and having a bit of a splashdown. What was that delta? I missed that delta. Anybody, 130 meters. Anybody get that delta at gate 4?
19 seconds.
Thank you, Graham.
Absolutely not over this race by any stretch of the imagination.
We've got 4 experts on watching. If you want to join via Zoom, Graham, John, Gordon, and the Commodores in Barcelona. Anybody want to offer a comment? Chris and out there on the water, Commodore Odorowski, Commodore Harrington.
Is it too noisy to hear us? Or get in there?
No, if you mute yourselves, when you're not talking, we can hear you loud and clear right now. Go ahead.
Got it. Great racing conditions out here. Really great. What happened?
Yeah, it looks nice, and this is closed up. Look at, speaking of great racing conditions, look how it's closed up. They're neck and neck. There's about back and forth here as the French to leeward on starboard tack to leeward and the Brits to windward on their hip. Very close, very, very close indeed. Ineos, when they get to the boundary, is going to have a starboard advantage. Okay, we'll go back to watching this as it's very close. And the Brits have sailed past them. To my eye, yeah, they have. The Brits now with a lead, just. French tacking now. And the Brits will cover. Is that a 4th lead change?
They'll have to sail their boat well across here to not get locked out on the next tack. So race is fully on.
I'm calling it a 4th lead change. I may have been off by 1. I may have counted one extra. Patrick Keys. He's watching this in church. No sound. He's got his sound off, so he's watching this, presumably on his phone or his iPad in church. No, Patrick Keys, I will not be at the Balboa Yacht Club Stag Cruise next week. I'd like to make it there at Catalina Island for that, but will not make it. Sorry. Some real racing, Julie Ahrens is saying. Yes, indeed, Julie. Real racing. The folks out on the water enjoying it. Gordon in Copenhagen, John in San Diego. We got our global group again. And Graham in Scotland, up in the Shetland Islands. Yell. Nice to have them all with us. Nice to have all of you with us on this fourth day of the Rounds Robin. Do you say round robin or rounds robin? Julia Vedekent, my co-host, who's upstairs in the Commodore suite, having gone to Stanford, she would say rounds robin, not round robins, like attorneys general. Ineos crossing ahead again. Julie Ahrens, sorry, you're cheering for the French, I know. Here comes the top gate. The Brits through around the upwind left end of the gate.
How far behind is Ineos, Orient Express Racing?
And Orient Express only 11 seconds behind. This is what we need. We need 10 knots of breeze. Come on, Ineos. Alan Long cheering for them. Alan, are you in Cleveland or Texas today?
Bottom of the course.
Here maybe is the quote of the year from Clayton Embley, who's normally in Texas. Clayt is saying, quote, I would rather be sailing thinking about God than sitting in church thinking about sailing. Oh, another cross. The Brits still ahead. They're talking to Rob Wilson. Let's listen in. Rob's the Ineos coach.
You know, they're real fast when they get going, and they're smart sailors. So, you know, it's been an awesome race. You know, it's tighter than we'd have liked. But, you know, it's good good to get pushed, that's for sure.
Rob Wilson, the coach for the Brits. Alan's in Cleveland. He's going to race tomorrow at the Mentor Harbor Yacht Club, presumably. 200 meters, 2 1/4.
They seem to be able to just get out of trouble. There's not much in it, though.
Pushing all the way. Hey, lads, nice.
The final leg.
This has been the busiest of the races so far.
It looks like the Brits are going to take this one. 230-meter lead over the French.
4 lead changes.
4 lead changes, so I have that right.
Maybe getting light as well, just be wary. Nice jive now. Not sure if they're on ley line here. I don't think so. No. We got 8 seconds on our box. Pressure's okay here, I think. I think they just passed that.
Yeah, the Brits will jibe one more time and go into the finish. They'll come over here and go straight in. 300-meter lead. Mark Atchison saying give the Brits credit for overcoming the OCS penalty and infringement and all.
4 lead changes, a penalty, imperfect roundings by both teams, but guess who gets the valuable point and their third win of the series? It will be the challenger of record, Ineos Britannia. That's 3 wins now.
Okay. Ineos is just plain faster, Alistair is saying. Ben needs to stop making mistakes. Well, I won't comment about, you all know, those of you who are regulars watching our Tuesday and Friday show, our Sailing Illustrated show, every Tuesday and Friday at 1300 Pacific, 2000 UTC, when I have been calling for Ben to take the lead of, you know, Dennis Conner figured this out back in the 90s, that you couldn't run a campaign and drive the boat. Handed the helm to Kayard. Kayard sadly did not figure that out, and Paul ran the campaign and tried to steer, did steer, and arguably that's why we lost. I was with that team in 2000 in Auckland with the St. Francis Yacht Club Challenge America 1 that Julia and her late husband were big supporters of. And others have figured that out, including notably, I think you can say that the Americans and New York Yacht Club's American Magic, they have figured that out because Terry Hutchinson, our longtime friend who was on the yacht last time, is now running the campaign, at least the sailing side of the campaign, and he is not on the yacht. Likewise with Grant Dalton, who was on the yacht here when they had the big loss to BMW, what were we called, Oracle Team USA at the time. And when we were down 8-3, and we went on to win it 9-8. Dalton was on the yacht. Julie Aarons will argue with me and say, oh, that's not why you beat us. She being a big fan of the Kiwis. But, you know, Dalton should have been on shore running the campaign, in my firm opinion. Andy Cox asking, can someone enlighten me what determines the OCS penalty? Is it AI-driven or arbitrary based on leading boat position? The umpires, Andy, are sitting. Let's listen to Ben. Sorry, Andy, come back to you.
Yeah, good one for the fans, not so much for the boys on board. It was a bloody good race, and yeah, hats off to the French. They did a nice job making it hard for us. It's a strange one on the start. We're in a strong position, but just got the time on distance wrong there with the tactical app, and then made a mistake with the penalty on the second upwind leg, I think it was. So yeah, great race.
We were just talking about the speed of your boat. Do you like her upwind or downwind or just both? Looks good.
Yeah, we're getting there. You know, I think all the teams are progressing as we're getting more and more time on the water. You know, I got to say, again, hats off to the French.
Okay, we're going to get more pablum from them.
Thanks for the entertainment, buddy.
Mark Atchison arguing with me a bit, politely saying that T. Hutch and Grant Dalton are significantly older than Sir Ben. I think Ben Wright to still be on the boat, IMO, still in his prime. Yeah, well, he's making mistakes, and he continues, Mark, to make mistakes, so I think there's too much pressure. There's Quentin Delapierre, the French skipper, the A-helm.
And have a great race in the next one, Robin.
We keep talking about this team's their upward curve of learning is vertical, but gee, you must have learned a lot about your boat speed and the whole team in that one.
Yeah, exactly. It's
you know, I wish they'd let Glenn Ashby or Shirley Robertson ask these questions rather than Mr. MacGyver. I don't know, Mark. There's a lot of mistakes being made, and of course that's true of other boats. But the pressure of doing media and PR and dealing with Mr. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, their principal backer owner, and all of the other stuff that, you know, I've been doing this since 1980 in one capacity or another, and the emotional, physical, and other pressure and loads is just enormous. Here's this graphical display. Now, that's what the umpires are seeing. They're in a booth, to answer the question from Andy Cox. The umpires are in a booth seeing this graphical display. Not unlike what we just saw sitting here at Beach Street Yacht Club in Studio B. There's Glenn talking about it.
That call, and it was a late one. And yeah, the British there just a little too late there on the call, and gave the advantage.
And again, the problem is you are, as an umpire, and remember I was involved in developing umpiring for our sport, as many of you know. As an umpire, you're going back to now you're watching this as we've just done digitally in a booth on shore with all these screens and the digital displays. It's really not quite AI, but yeah, there is a bit of AI. And they have to make a decision, and they got to, among themselves, there's a team of them, and then Richard Slater, who I've done three America's Cup campaigns with, he was one of our racing, he was our racing rules advisor and kind of tactics coach. And, you know, he's on the horn on the radio. He pushes a button, has a microphone, and talks to the yachts. And they make the decision in a booth. And if his displays and his software is not perfectly aligned with the software on the yachts, they got a problem. There's Ben Toy. This is a package. And if they are not aligned, all of them, and this has been the constant complaint from the challengers who have, you heard Ben call it the tactical app, they've all got it, and they can switch to some different displays showing different aspects of on their tactical app. And if they don't have it all working the same, and this has been the complaint, and the teams are used to doing their own thing, their own software, their own hardware, their own yacht design, their own everything. But in this case, this was supposedly to keep the cost down. The Defender provided all this Chinese software to all the teams, and they claim, the teams do, that it's Crutonic. How Crutonic, I don't know, because obviously I'm not there. But again, having been inside these teams on and off for 40 years, I can tell you that they examine every nuance, every aspect. And Julie Aarons, I'll give you the comment because you're arguing with me. You know that's not the reason. Grant wasn't steering. He was on the, you're talking about back to whether Grant Dalton should have been on the yacht. He should not have been on the yacht, Julie. We've had this discussion. He should not have been on the yacht here in 2013 in San Francisco, in my never so humble opinion. Okay, so we've got a third match coming up here in a moment. That was a barn burner, as we would say in Michigan. We got the Swiss against the Italians. That's probably not going to be too interesting. That's match 13 in the whole scheme of things. So Alinghi against Prada coming up. I wonder if any of the gang on our chat, on our Zoom call, and again, if anybody wants to join them, the Zoom credential 267-220-6570. The passcode, as always, 1851 for that year that the America's Cup was started. Chris Ottorowski, why don't we start with you? Otto, do you have a view on what's on that last race and whether T. Hutch, who's now gone off your boat, the American Magic boat, T. Hutch is off the boat, and whether, you can't hear? Go ahead, Chris. We can't hear you, so I'm going to go to Gordon Smith. Gordon, let's go to you in Scotland. What do you think of Sir Ben? You're a big fan of that team. And do you think Sir Ben should be on the boat or off?
I think he's fine on the boat. I think that last race actually was very heartening for Ineos supporters. I thought they showed faster speed overall points of sailing. Sorry, I'm getting some noise from somebody.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute everybody and now come back. There's the mute sign. Chris will come back to you, muting everybody. Gordon, carry on, please, in Copenhagen.
Yeah, I thought it was very heartening performance from Ineos. They were faster in every point of sailing. They came back from 2 severe penalties and they won comfortably. I think Orient Express are having problems getting their layup for the marks well planned.
Good point.
Looking forward to the next race. Yeah, I hope Alinghi produce a performance. I'm genuinely hoping that, and we'll also learn how far Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli can extend, if they can, over Alinghi. It's going to be, from that point of view, it's going to be an interesting race.
Yeah, agreed. Gordon, thank you for that. Graham Sweeney in Scotland, another Brit supporter. Hold up your pillow and tell us what you think. Should Ben stay on the boat or get off?
You have a point, Tom, but I don't think any man has got a right to stand in another man's destiny and stand in the way. I mean, I think this is what he believes is his calling in life, and I'm afraid that's what he's going to do. Yeah, it's too late to change anybody now.
Well, there are a lot of comments coming in. We're talking about the Brits and whether Giles Scott, who would come in and race, superb sailor, and they've got Dylan Fletcher on the boat, but we got a yacht race coming up, so that's to be continued, and it's an interesting topic, I'm sure, for everybody, and we'll see. Not many people agree with me, I think. I think they think Ben, as you just said, Graham, thanks for that, saying that, you know, he's been large and in charge, and he ought to be able to carry on. It's his campaign. Here we go with a pre-start. The Swiss coming in from the port end. And where are the Italians? I wish there they are. They got to get a bigger shot so they can see both boats, because you start to get nervous if you can't see both boats on the approach. You think that maybe they've fallen off their foils or had a problem, a technical or otherwise. Looks like plenty of breeze now. Looks like more breeze. Surface of the water looks like it is ruffled up more than we've seen.
You can be as aggressive as you want. Alinghi Red Bull Racing coming back into the box. Both teams just on committee line. The J3 jibs there, so really, really nice.
J3s. So code 3 jibs. J3s is, I think I heard Glenn Ashby say.
This pre-start, in large part, is about
1 minute.
politics, and those are the numbers you're hearing. Time
They're in the lower right hand of the start box.
Alinghi Red Bull Racing choosing to lead back.
LRPP leading back.
They'll go to attack and then look to push.
Swiss, look at this. They're going to tack way up here, high, and take the high road into the start. LRPP with the very aggressive Jimmy Spithill on the starboard side driving could hold them out if, well, now Alinghi's down back to leeward. Will they try to hook Prada? I don't think they have time. No, they're not even close. So LRPP wanted the left. They're getting the left. It looked like the Swiss wanted the right, and they're getting the right. Gauged off to windward. Both boats hit the line full speed. Nice starts for both teams.
Lovely start by Alinghi Red Bull Racing. Stayed out of trouble, judged their own line.
Now we'll see if Alinghi is as fast. I mean, if you've got, you think, a speed advantage, you want to stay out of trouble at the start. Get to that port boundary first. Tack and zoom away. No one wants to play with Jimmy. Felipe. Guillemin. Hello, Felipe. Or is it Philip? And there's no surprise. Alinghi tacks away.
To the left-hand boundary there.
Boundary racing.
Both sailing in clear air, so it's a bit of a drag race at the moment.
On to Jason Zero, Peter Lester. Clean start by both. Where do you see the advantage going at the moment? Slightly changed.
Bow to bow, according to the GPS. Again, you don't know if there's more pressure on the left. You don't know if there's a better angle, if they got a lift or a header or less pressure. Likewise, now on the right, does look like LRPP, now that the boats have done, they've done an extra tack. Right away, they've got the green now around the boat. That's good. I like that. And, oh, it's close. Looks like Alinghi are hunting them, but it looks like LRPP gets a cross ahead. Protest from the Swiss.
I don't think Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli infringed there, but it'll be interesting to see what umpire.
See what the umpires decide. Swiss pushing their protest button. No putting up the Y flag. They push a button. I think that'll be green flag by the umpires, or they would have probably Well, they're taking a long time to rule. Cap Gemini saying there's 8.5 knots of wind. Looked like there was more than that to us on the surface.
Nice angle there, so I think they're in phase.
Waiting, boy, a long time the umpires are taking here. They're on the first leg of 6, going uphill.
Little touchdown there. Swashing off a little bit of speed, which is unfortunate.
LRPP now on starboard. Well, I haven't seen a decision from the umpires. Has any of you? And the Italians will lead, going around the upwind left end of the gate, downwind right. And the Swiss almost, they're only 4 seconds behind, so it's a close race.
4 seconds, the delta.
Ghost boat.
There's the simulations. The Cap Gemini is one of the sponsors, and projecting at the next cross, the Italians will lead.
On that bottom part of the course is what they'll be looking to get into if they can. Replay here of the.
I don't know why, you know, we saw twice the digital indication that the Swiss were protesting, presumably that they had to bear away. Sorry, the Swiss on starboard, that they had to bear away to cross safely astern of the port tack Italian.
A great judgment call there from quite a distance out. So good job.
This is the race committee. We are moving the windward gate, shifting the course axis to 076.
076. 076.
Yeah, and it is tight, but Luna Rossa Prada.
So it's a little more northeasterly today. 090, of course, would be easterly. 076, we've seen easterly or southeasterly in past days. LRPP clearly passing ahead 130 meters or so ahead of Alinghi. Gordon Smith observing. Gordon, let's go to you and see if you want to comment. You're saying that there's a huge improvement from Alinghi on all fronts. What observation do you want to make, Gordon, about their improvement?
Well, I think in general the team will be really heartened that under these conditions that they are still in touch with LRPP, who are clearly the team to beat within the challengers, and I think they'll find this very heartening. They've not got their #1 rig. They've had some unfortunate events. You know, it takes the team down a bit. And I think they'll take this. I think they'll go, this was a huge improvement. We're on the water and we were racing properly.
You mean they'll take this race? You don't think they're going to win it, take it in the sense of winning it?
They may win it, but I think just the relative performance would be extremely heartening for them.
Yeah, okay, I hear you, but I'm wondering, Gordon, if it's more that the breeze is up. And we know that the Italians have an advantage in the light, maybe in the medium. Alinghi is okay, especially with their old mast. So maybe it's not so much a huge improvement by Alinghi, but maybe it's just that the breeze is up. What do you think of that?
Well, you have very light wind and it really doesn't produce very reliable results in any sailing event. I think what we're seeing here is a better relative comparison between two teams, and I think this will make Alinghi feel happier.
Well, I think there's no question about that. I think you're spot on there. Graham Clark is saying it looks like sandbagging. He thinks the Italians have taken the foot off the pedal a little bit. I'm not quite so sure I agree with that, Graham, but how would you know? It's hard to know, and you could be right. Could be right. Thanks, Graham. Thanks, Gordon, for that. As the lead now 200 meters, so if they're taking the foot off the pedal, they haven't taken it off much. You know, we can talk about sandbagging, and Dennis Conner, with whom I did, well, really 3 campaigns, counting the defense, the 2 defenses I ran, and then was with Dennis's team in '95. I just, you know, sometimes just going out there and pounding the opposition, regardless of the conditions, is a better than sandbagging and holding your cards very close to your chest. They're showing the helms of both boats, and the question's been asked, why is Giles Scott, Mark Atchison is saying, well, that's my argument, Mark. If I were Sir Ben and I was having the up and down, I would have long since taken myself off the boat and put Giles on, because they've got Dylan Fletcher as the B helm, and I'd put either Dylan as the A helm and Giles as the B helm or whatever, and let Ben run the campaign. I think some of you who are saying it's a little late to be changing riders on the horse, changing jockeys, there's a fair point there as well to be made, that, you know, you just got to try to get on with, you know, you dance with who brung you to the dance. In this case, Ben brought them all to the dance, so making a change may not be smart. Although you may see a desperation move, you may see a desperation change if the Brits are on the cusp. As you saw here in 2013, when Russell Coots and Larry Ellison took the decision to take John Kostecki off the back of the boat and put Sir Ben, in this case, in our case, in 2013, put him on. And that change helped a lot, in my opinion. Julie Ahrens agrees that, excuse me, I better reach for the water instead of the coffee. Julie Ahrens agrees with you, Gordon, that Alinghi is learning their boat, and seemed like leaving much of a 200 meters doesn't seem like leaving much of a margin for sandbagging. Yeah. Fog Machine asking if 1.7 nautical miles is the longest leg we've seen so far. 350 meters does not look like a sandbag, as the Italians now coming into the top gate with a big lead. Well, you would expect, Lance Burke, a.k.a. Fog Machine, that the legs would be longer because the breeze is up. It's the most breeze we've seen since, well, one of those races in the preliminary regatta, we had some breeze.
Interesting, just a little shaft ventilation there.
Mark Holland, who is our statistician, confirming, yes, this is the longest leg.
Water there around the top mark, so
The Italians going down the downwind left side of the track with a big lead over the Swiss. They're on the chase. Yes, come Steve MacGyver. Try to make it interesting. Keep it. Come on, celebrate the lead changes, but when it becomes a ho-hum, as it is now, with the faster boat in the lead and the breeze being steady. What was that, 28-second delta?
It's been a great racetrack today. You know, the teams haven't been able to call it. It's had opportunities everywhere.
The race graphic still showing only 8 knots. Julie Ahrens saying, no, Jimmy's the ultimate competitor. He's going to push all the time. 500 meters now, the delta. Matthias Collins observing, well, the software that's provided by the defenders it's provided even to the umpires. Looks like Venezuela organizing an election, of course, Matthias is in South America, providing the vote count software and asking their Justice Department to rule over the procedure. It should be an open source code and final version of the software verified by all teams. Good comment from Gordon Smith in the written comments, 40 plus knots downhill and 10 knots. Fantastic performance from this class of boat. 506 meters the lead. The Italians ahead of the Swiss.
Late summer sun and spending most of their time.
Swiss haven't won a match yet. They haven't won a race.
From the beach, which is a real bonus in the 37th America's Cup Regatta.
They already raced once today.
This is the race committee. We are moving the windward gate, shifting the course axis to 080 and lengthening the
breeze
course
has gone
to
right a little bit, 080 now. Yeah, I think, Julie, you're going to get your wish. I think you're going to see the Swiss go home. It's starting to look like maybe the fat lady has not sung, but the handwriting may be on the wall.
Working on a target time of 23 boats for 23 minutes for both boats.
Let's get onto the border. Pete Lester, the way this Luna Rossa boat's being sailed is
Hello, Andy Barkworth. They keep saying these boats are more like F1. Do we think in future they need some sort of DRS system for the trailing boat? Those of you who are not F1 fans, the F1 teams now, the trailing car can push a button and get a little boost in the straightaway if there are certain parameters have been met, including if they've been catching up. If the trailing car has been catching up, they can push. What does DRS actually stand for? Remind us, those of you who are F1 aficionados, Andrew Barkworth. But it's like an afterburner, cutting in the afterburner, and then the trailing car can get around on the straightaway, get around the lead car. John Lambert's Van Buren agreeing with Gordon, or drag reduction system rather. He's agreeing with Matthias Collins. Okay, well, what's this delta? 21 seconds at this gate. That is gate 4, so they're on the final upwind leg. Drag reduction system. Richard Lawton is recording that Grand Prix in Monza in Italia, in Italy today. Thanks for drag reduction system, DRS.
They keep sailing the boat well. They're not far off the leader.
Having gone to every F1 race for years, back in the late 90s and early noughts, when I was employed by the title sponsor. I was running the title sponsor of the West McLaren Mercedes team in Hamburg, Germany. I was based, and we most of the F1 family, as they call the on-track people, you really like the 3 M's. We all like going to Melbourne for the first race, Montreal for in June normally, and Monza before that, or sorry, maybe not so much Monza, but we like going to Monaco. Those are the 3 big fun, although for those of us involved in running a sponsorship, Monaco was a mess, very difficult to get around. DRS, the trailing car within a second can open the slot on the back spoiler to reduce drag. Mark Atchison is giving us the technical details. Thank you. Monza, of course, a favorite for the Italians for the so-called Tifosi, as we discussed at the top of the show. Lori Fullerton asking, is that DRS, the drag reduction system, a bit like the Whomper in the cult classic Wind? Good point. Good comment, Lori.
Foil flaps moving, rudders raking back and forwards with the elevator attached to them to control the pitch. Big job for the flight controllers.
262 meter. Yeah, the Italians fell off the foils there for a minute in that, what was it, their tack over there. They're on leg 5 of 6.
To keep this tight, to keep this match alive.
Oh, keep this match alive. Go, 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 Shirley, keep this match alive. I mean, to be fair, if you fall off the foils, if you do make a mistake, you could go from 250 meters in the lead to there is no second. Lance Burke saying, I used to sail with some people that were kind of a drag. Kicking them off the boat made us faster too. Julie Ahrens is still mad at the Swiss, she says, from 2003 because of the Russell Coutts and his tight 5, Brad Butterworth and the rest of the gang leaving New Zealand for the greener pastures of Switzerland. Russell had gone, I know from having done a few campaigns with Russell and talking to him over a glass of red wine or a meal or two, but he went to Switzerland to try to talk Ernesto Bertarelli into backing the Kiwi team. Russell was trying to take it over. And Ernesto said, well, rather than me going and backing the Kiwi team, why don't you guys come here to Switzerland and I'll challenge, which he did. And of course, Ernesto and Alinghi, with his Kiwi defectors, as the Kiwis called them, Russell and Co. in the tight five, a rugby term, they went on to be the first challenger ever to challenge and win on their first effort. No one's ever done that before or since, notwithstanding the races in 1988 and 2010, which were deed of gift matches, a different deal. So they have closed up here a bit. I don't know if the breeze has lightened up. Doesn't look like it has. There's a Spanish Coast Guard boat. Or a Navy boat, maybe. What's this delta? It's the Swiss following around the top mark. This delta is only 16, so it's down 5 seconds from what it was at the bottom gate.
Did a really good job on that last upwind. Actually sailed a beautiful beat and are in touch, diving away now.
Yeah, I think Gordon is pretty upbeat here, saying that in general, Alinghi's performance is comparable to LRPP's, which should be heartening for them.
Nervous?
Talking to the coach boat now, Pietro Sabello.
I mean, it's what we need after the last 2 days. We had difficulty in the starts. I think the guys came back really, really aggressive, and this is what we want to see, you know. They do everything they can to keep the race alive, and they're pushing Arno Luna Rossa, which is a strong team. So this is exactly what we wanted to see.
Now you might make the argument, those of you who believe in the sandbagging theory, that Alinghi are just cooling it a little bit so as not to give away their performance in this up range. It's a little bit more breezy, 11 knots, 10 knots, whatever it is. Although if you believe the race graphic for the amount of wind, they're saying 8.5 knots. Well, Alinghi, a little unstable there.
Good to hear, and that is what we're hearing. I mean, a win in this race would have been a massive ask for Alinghi Red Bull Racing.
400 meters is the delta.
And they look like a new team. They have regrouped and reset and have a lot of promise going into the next round robin.
Got to say, Glenn, though, the Italians have really hit the gas on this downward leg, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got the ears pinned well and truly back at the moment, but Alinghi Red Bull Racing still sailing really, really nicely here, and I agree with Shirley. I think they've made some really nice.
No, I'm not. Did I say the Swiss? I mean the Italians. Bing bong. William Sangmeister saying, "Well, why would they be sandbagging when they're about to be eliminated?" No, not the Swiss. I was talking about Alinghi having maybe dialed it back just a touch.
Flying at the moment, heading close to 43 knots, and it's
I mean, the poor old Alinghi guys. It's a young sailing team, and they've broken their rig twice. Their second brand new rig, which was, I guess, air freighted. It was built at Southern Spars, I'm pretty sure, down in New Zealand. Their second rig, as was their first. And it was air freighted into Barcelona. They had it up in the air and sailing for 20 minutes, and then that one broke. That is the Swiss rig, second Swiss rig.
For the day here, and agree with you, Stephen. It's a very well sailed boat and a very polished team and a very polished boat. So they'll be happy to rub it across the line.
Okay, so they're through the finish.
Themselves the race win.
Not quite. I take that back.
But Alinghi Red Bull Racing pushing them all.
Yeah, bing bong. That's what I meant. If I misspoke, but yeah, I think the Italians might have dialed it back a bit. Italians look quicker downwind, I would say that. We saw that yesterday as well. Here come the Italians into the finish.
Of race 14, and Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli remain unbeaten. And the Louis Vuitton.
Now they're calling this, Mark, they're calling this race 14, match 14. I've got it as match 13, but what do I know? Maybe we got that stat. There's a big smile from Philippe Presti, who's been been Jimmy Spithill's longtime coach.
Rig problems in their first race of the day against Emirates Team New Zealand, but across
John Harper, hello John, asking what is the water depth on the course? The wave action looks like Lake Erie. Well, I don't know the water depth. Maybe if Otto or Claire know out on John Heal's boat. But you can see there in this shot, you can see the breakwater. They're right off the breakwater off. This is Porto Olimpico. One of these was built to be the athletes' village in '92. And the racing is right off that breakwater. And when you have an easterly, and that's a kind of a easterly facing breakwater, so you've got bounce. You got the water coming in out of the Med, from the eastern end of the Med, bouncing against that breakwater and coming back out onto the racetrack, which is why there's generally more bobble here in the racing area than you would otherwise expect for the amount of wind. Matthias Collins asking about a rig limit. I think the rig limit, Matthias, is if you couldn't build a quiver of rigs. You couldn't have multiple rigs and then pick as between them. You could only have you could have a rig and a backup, but if you broke a rig, I think you could build a replacement. I think that's what the rules say, provided the measure is assured that your build, the new rig, is identical to the one it's replacing, or as identical as possible. I think that's the rule. Does anybody know the water? Somebody Google the water depth for us. Can somebody do that?
Congratulations, Francesco.
They're going to talk to Francesco. Let's listen into that.
Yeah, it's a very good feeling. We did also a good job today, and yeah, feel super proud with the team and all the guys on the pedals, and yeah, I mean, everybody is doing a fantastic job. We have to keep pushing.
The platitudes. I mean, what do you expect them to say when you ask a question? What's Shirley saying?
That's what America's Cup used to look like.
KA12.
Slight difference in speed there, but that's some fantastic history.
Francesco, we were just watching that start again, and where you just seem to position.
Okay, so McLaren, my old team, is 1-2 after 30 of the 53 laps. Mark Atchison is saying Ferrari is 3-4. So the Tifosi in Monza will be happy. Red Bull not doing well on the water or on the track currently. They're 6th and 7th at Monza. Thanks for that, Mark. Lance Burke, a.k.a. Fog Machine, is saying that, what's CMAP mean, Fog Machine? Saying the depth is 40 to 70 meters, right? Is that right off the breakwater there, Fog Machine? 40 to 70 meters. So 125 plus feet to maybe as much as 200 plus feet. Gordon Smith saying the sea swell has not yet played a role. Let's go listen to Arnaud for a sec.
With the other, so yeah, very nice, and yeah, the power group did an amazing job. So always nice to be with them on board.
Max,
yeah, sorry, and as well for the short team to be able to sail again.
That's not Arnaud, that's Maxime, obviously complimenting his short team. Apparently
Max,
had another
it's
problem.
been a bit of a day, hasn't it? But just watching you and listening to the whole team during that race, it sounds like Alinghi Red Bull Racing's had a bit of a reset.
Yeah, I think we were happy as well to see the breeze, and yeah, it was just a good race, good fun, and yeah, happy to play with.
Okay.
Thanks, Maxime.
Again, if you're joining us in the States, I hope you have subscribed to ESPN Plus. That's what we're watching here on the screen, ESPN Plus. It's only $11 a month, $10.99 a month. It's less than that if you get a year's subscription and you want to watch college football. Or they got a talk about a fire hose of sports on ESPN Plus. I have to admit that since I subscribed here for the America's Cup, I have watched some of my favorite television sport, college football, on ESPN Plus while I'm sitting in here in the studio preparing the keynote deck for the show. Fog Machine saying CMAP LVC Map is one of the global recreational chart companies. That depth is around the racing area just east of the breakwater. Thank you. Fog Machine saying that ESPN, again, Lance Burke, has additional F1 coverage as well. And thank you for all that. Claire Harrington out on the water has just said, boy, we're getting ready. We're excited about our match. We've lost their signal for the moment. Out on John Heal's yacht. Whisper, I believe, is the name of his yacht. But we're waiting now for the fourth match of the day, closing in on 7 o'clock here, 7 in the morning in San Francisco. Welcome to all of you joining. We see a lot of people on here today. A little more wind than was forecast. When we first looked at the wind, it looked pretty light. Tomorrow, I hope this forecast is wrong as well. Windfinder has been very good up till now. And they're saying tomorrow at 1400, they're saying 6, gusting 6. And that's tomorrow, Monday. And tomorrow's a reserve day. So if they get these next 2 races in, I don't think that we'll see racing tomorrow. We'll have a day off. But if that's not the case, if we lose either of these next 2 matches, then I think we will not have a day off. We'll have some racing tomorrow on the reserve day. So the next up is match 4 for the day, scheduled USA versus NZL. And remember, the Americans, the only team that has defeated in any of this AC 75 racing so far, meaning the preliminary regatta and now the rounds robin phase of the Louis Vuitton Cup. So we shall see if, in fact, the Americans can work their magic, again, sorry for the pun, and Alex Hayworth confirming that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is a very bad forecast. Yeah, I saw that as well. Fog Machine saying, get a move on with this race. He wants to see it as plane. He must be at the airport in Mass. Are you at Boston, Logan? He was been in situ at Mass, having raced out there. Claire's on Reliant. Starlink is a little touchy. They got one of Elon Musk's systems there, on Reliant. John Heal's boat name is Reliant. I guess Whisper is the other boat. That's Hap Faust's boat. Is that right? Did I have that right, Claire? And Tyler Wolk. Hello, Tyler. A shipmate of mine. I've sailed a lot of miles with Tyler on It's Okay. He's saying, so assuming all the teams have signed the agreement to keep these boats going for the next cup, are there any teams considering backing out? Seems many sailors are speaking out about the lack of excitement in boat-on-boat racing, technical failures causing boats not being able to race, etc. Anything on one hears regarding what the AC teams, current AC teams truly think of this format. Tyler, thank you for that. I think the point is that if one of the teams that have signed this agreement, their trustee, which is the yacht club, not the team, and I don't know if the yacht clubs have also signed this agreement. I'm not a lawyer, but one of you who is may say that the contractual ink on the paper may compel them to run the races, and the penalty is $20 million apparently in the contract that some have signed, or maybe all have signed. $20 million to each of the other teams if they if they win, and then run the next match in something other than these AC 75s or a modification thereof. Under deed and trust law in New York, where the deed of gift is seated, as the lawyers would say, and Hamish Ross will tell you, you cannot bind the hands of a future trustee. So if New York were to win this, and they said, we're going to change the boat to something else, I don't see how the deed of gift or this contract would bind New York Yacht Club to using these boats again, Tyler. So there's the answer. It's a bit of a legalistic answer, but it's the case as I see it. Now, whether or not the New York the problem is if you win the cup, here's the New York Yacht Club's 8 sailors, and here come the ETNZ team, led, of course, by Nathan Outeridge there on the right and Pete Burling, their A helm. The problem is that if you win the cup and you have done it in these boats, the design team, the sailing team, even some of the backers are going to tell the yacht club, hey, this is how we won the cup. Let's don't change it and, start with a clean sheet of paper and have to use another, metaphor. Let's roll the dice and see if we can be good in a new setup, in a new class of yacht, in a different class of yacht. There's a lot of pressure on the teams, on the club to keep going. 3 minutes now to this next start. Keep going with what you won with. Okay, I better write that down, Claire, so I remember. They are on the Yacht Reliant, which belongs to John Heel, a senior serious backer, New York Yacht Club member and backer of the team. And then Whisper is Hap Faust's boat, the co-chair's boat. I believe that's correct. Hap Faust is the co-chair of the syndicate along with Doug DeVos of Amway fame. Hello, Fritz Mueller joining in. We're about to get into this cool match that a lot of the Americans have been waiting for. 2.5, 2:33 to go between New York Yacht Club's American Magic and I'm just pushing some buttons here to get us up to speed. And the Kiwis, Emirates Team New Zealand, who will be coming in from the starboard end here. The Americans entering now, 10 seconds ahead of the 2-minute signal. That's when the port entry gets, under the rules, the permission to enter into the pre-start area. From there, assigned end to the starting line. And here come the Kiwis. Americans on time, so they'll cross ahead, which you really, as the port entry, you really want to be on time so you can get ahead and get crossed over and into the downwind right of the starting box. Minute 40.
Emirates Team New Zealand following into the boundary.
The Italians like the port end of the line. There's going to be a port starboard approach. No, not really. And it looks like the Americans want to lead back. Tommy Slingsby, the A helm. You're getting some buzz at the top end of my microphone? Really? I don't think that's from my mic. I'm listening to the audio feed coming off. I think it's okay. 40 seconds.
Both boats just above the mark.
And the Americans leading back. The Kiwis will try to hook them. There's the overlap line. There's no chance for them to hook them. The Americans will be ahead and to leeward at the start. Are they early, as they were yesterday? 10 seconds. Doesn't look like they're early. Kiwis splitting off, going for the starboard end of the line. Americans bearing away. 4, 3, 2.
Two of the big names are a go in the last race of the day. Race 15, Louis Vuitton Cup Challenger Selection Series, and a split tack start.
Fantastic start. Okay, you got to see your start, Fog Machine, before your plane boarded. You can probably still watch it on the plane after you boarded.
Down to the pin, keep them slow, build themselves tack, and then actually rebuild the speed to hit the line about.
Julie Aarons, in this case, I hope it's a good race, but I won't be upset if AM wins because I want AM in the finals of the Cup or of the Challenger Selection Series. Again, the Americans, the only team that have defeated the Kiwis, showing the Americans in the lead by about 70 meters as they've tacked there on the upwind left, on the boundary.
What I'm looking at the course between, we're right to leeward of Emirates Team New Zealand. More pressure, more wind on the right-hand side.
That's Peter Lester, who is someplace over here. He said he was to leeward of the Kiwis on here on the upwind right, and he says he thinks there's more pressure here on the right. Looks like the Kiwis are in the lead if you believe the GPS graphic. Let's see the cross here. The Kiwis have the right of way. They're on starboard. Looks like the Americans will have to cross behind. Now, if you're a promoter, you'd call that a lead change. If you are a seasoned veteran America's Cup observer, team manager, event manager, you would say, well, it really had not established itself as the Americans in the lead. Kiwis clearly in the lead now by 2 or 3 boat lengths. Is my mic okay? Gordon, is your audio okay coming from me? Give me a thumbs up if it is. Yeah, okay.
You sound delightful as always, Tom.
I sound what?
You sound delightful as always.
Oh, you're too kind. You are too kind, Gordon. Graham, check your audio up there. You've got a buzz up there in Scotland. Maybe it's... What are you drinking up there, Graham Sweeney? Okay. The right side has seemed better today. Well, Mark, the prediction, I think you're correct, Mark. ETNZ in the lead, yeah, but it's going to be close again here. Look at this. The prediction has been for it to go right. Indeed, the race committee has shifted the course already once to the right. I like this green circle for the non-sailors, can indicate quickly that this is the right-of-way boat. And here we go with a slam dunk by the Kiwis, ahead and to leeward of the Americans. We got match racing. You could hear Tommy Slingsby saying coming up here into a higher groove as they're trying to, you know, that tacking ahead and to leeward stuff doesn't work very well, does it? We've seen this movie before. Now, interesting, you know, they're driving from the port sides of the boat, and the driver on the American boat can't see through the sails very easily. He's got some windows. He tacks away. They're going to lead into the gate. The Americans taking the upwind left end of the gate. So we've got that well and truly is a lead change. And again, I think as Gordon is saying, the Americans probably like this condition a little bit more than the lighter going that we've had earlier in the rounds robin. Kiwis following them down the downwind right side, the upwind left. What was that delta? I missed it. Yay, Magic, Mark Atchison is saying. Tyler Wolk, even if American Magic wins, doesn't this point not count towards the advancement in the round robin? Correct, Tyler Wolk. But it is bragging rights, and it'll be a huge boost for American Magic, both the team and the supporters and everybody else, if in fact they can stay ahead of the Kiwis. If the Kiwis are just playing with them, I don't think they were. I think they tacked ahead and to leeward to see if you could do such a slam dunk. 10-second delta. Thanks, everybody. Chris and Mark. Chris, actually, hello to see you on. We'd have another match after this, the Swiss versus the French, which is an important match in the scheme of things. The Swiss yet to win a match. And I don't know, Gordon. Yeah, predicted to be best performer in the lightest conditions. I'm not so sure, though, that those predictions were accurate. And again, teams make changes to the mode of the boat. They can remode the boat a little bit, as we saw American Magic in this condition at least go right past the Kiwis to windward after the Kiwis tried to slam dunk them. Who was that? John Emmett on his Ilka in the background? I don't think so. Haven't seen John on the comments today. He's probably out sailing. At 3 in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon in the UK. 200 meter lead to the Americans down leg 2.
But I'm sure the challengers will now be going, wow, American Magic in a bit of breeze. big move to get the right mark currently for both boats.
So we got I don't think it's too job right, Yeah, biggest left we've seen. It's still trending left all the time, I think.
Trending left.
Those aggressive covering.
That came off. Well, it sounded like Pete Burling's voice to me.
Actually, have to be quite a long way ahead to stay safe.
I mean, these guys would know. They've got wind, obviously, displays and the trend and how fast the trend, and they've got, if it's oscillating, they've got a zigzag trend. They'll know. Which is probably why they both went around the upwind left end of the gate. They saw the wind trending left, and they wanted to be on the reach rather than the run, or more on a reach than on a run. As the Americans now soaking down 150 meters.
The Newark Yacht Club's American Magic heading down to complete leg 2, the first downward leg of this 6-leg match race. But like these,
Interesting how in a good race the comments dry up from all of you.
Conditions off the coast of Barcelona. It's American Magic around first, leading the defender, Emirates Team New Zealand.
So we got 35 this way. Big tags, I think we're rolling the one. Probably 15 we can go. 370 so normal.
9 seconds, the delta at gate 2.
This is the optimal way to get to that top mark. But
Gordon,
anything can happen if teams decide to
what do you think?
like Emirates Team New Zealand there right now.
I think it's a very interesting. Race. As you know, my perception, it's only a perception, is that the AM design package was optimized for the lighter end of the wind range that was discussed or proposed. And I think they're doing what they had to do, which is to compete against ETNZ, who most people perceive as having the broadest design package. So I think this is a credible race, and I think it's very interesting.
Okay. Graham?
They seem to be pretty good for us right now. But,
Hi, Tom. I think we've got a yacht race, mate. I've just sent you a message. I think the Battle of Barcelona Bay is well and truly on. And this is a very important race. I mean, this is probably the most important race of the day. It's going to give us all lots of information. And it's really good to see that the Americans are holding them off and still doing the business. We will now see whether New Zealand has something in its pocket and is able to use it.
Okay, good points, all. Thank you very much. Coach John Rogers in San Diego in a very relaxed configuration there on a Sunday morning at 7 in the morning. John, what do you think?
Well, I think American Magic and New York Yacht Club are, just Hapfoth and all those guys have really put together an amazing program with their quantum racing going and signing Tom Slingsby and all those things. I just think they made a lot of really good moves and I think the finals are just going to make people feel really good about this regatta. I think the upcoming racing in the future is going to be quite close. I also think the weather over the next few days is going to be quite volatile and interesting and up and down and storms and stuff. So it's going to get a little entertaining.
Okay, thanks for that, John. It's about 150 meters, now up to 160 as they're going up leg 3 of 6. The Americans ahead of the Kiwis. A lot of regatta left. I think that's one thing I would say. There is a lot of regatta left because you got to get through the semis. And that's, again, things change. In the rounds robin, it's a little different sailing than when you get into head-to-head match racing in a knockout series, which is what the semis are. First to win 5. First to win 5. We've confirmed that again this morning. And then you get into the finals of the Challenger Selection Series. Obviously, the winners of the 2 semis. And that's first to win 7. And then the match, likewise, is first to win 7, which, if my public school math is correct. Public school meaning University of Michigan, not Stanford or Harvard. You know, I just went to a simple country boy school in Michigan, who won their football game yesterday anyway. But that's best of 13. Back at the Formula One in Monza, Piastri has 6 laps to hunt down Leclerc. Not going to happen. Probably not. They're closing in on the finish there. Closing in on the top gate here. The Kiwis seem to be closing up, speaking of closing, on the Americans. But I think when they tack, they're going to be behind a bit. The Americans are laying the gate. Kiwis maybe are also laying the gate. Looks like the Americans will cross ahead just. So the Kiwis have caught up in either a righty or more pressure on the upwind right. It tends, I think, to be more pressure on the upwind right. And again, you have to, it's a hard decision for the teams. Do we minimize our tacking, or do we set up to try to get into the upwind right corner of the track? Not much in it, 5 seconds. That sounded like Nathan Outeridge's voice, saying nothing in it, guys. The Americans maybe liking the pressure on the downwind left, the converse, of course, the upwind right. 90 meter lead. Julie Aarons, I'm loving this. I'm putting a lot of stock in American Magic. Slingsby and Burling are the 2 best helmsmen in the regatta. Stanford is not much better than Michigan academically. Well, I hope you're right. It was a long time ago, regardless. This is going to be close.
This is the race committee. We are moving the windward gate, shortening the course to 1.65 nautical miles and shifting the axis to 070.
So they've shifted it, what, back to the left. Americans still ahead. They cross ahead on starboard with right of way. So that was Mel Roberts, the race committee communicator. They've shifted the track back to the left, the gate, the windward gate, back to the left. It was at 080, I think. Now it's back to 070. And they're shortening it. Okay. Well, this has probably got some of the American fans puckered up a bit. Commodore Odorowski and Commodore Harrington out on the yacht Radiant. Lead change indicated here on the GPS, but again, as a veteran observer of America's Cup and other yacht racing, till you see a cross, I don't really call it, because the Kiwis, remember, have to tack before this cross, or sorry, jibe. They're going to have to jibe, and they're going to lose some distance in that jibe. Here it goes. But maybe they will come out on starboard tack.
About 2 boat lengths in this jibe versus American Magic. So keeping that in mind.
There's the jibe.
American Magic possibly.
And you see the lead shrinking.
They
I don't have them in cross right now.
So bow and bow here.
And you're very close to laying fast mode and work it out at the bottom. It's even gate for the wind.
That sounds like Nathan saying you're very close to laying and that this is a lead change. Starboard tack Kiwis crossing ahead. Jim Scully, thanks for your kind comment. We're happy to do this for all of you watching around the world. First lead change. I think the first real lead change.
Of the Louis Vuitton Challenger Selection Series, heading into that bottom gate to complete the 4th leg. It's a slight lead to Emirates Team New Zealand after losing the lead on the first.
End of the second sausage here. This is a triple windward leeward. Kiwis having to soak down to make the gate. Coming slow. And the Americans will chase them in to the upwind left with a better angle and presumably better speed coming out of the gate. They will roll into attack, no doubt. There it is. Come on, guys. That's an interesting shot, but show us the overhead.
That'll be a down speed tack there for.
I should go direct the television show, or produce it anyway. John Bosley, thanks to you on a lot of people on YouTube watching today. We're streaming this, of course, on our SI YouTube channel and also our SI Facebook page, and also my personal TFE Facebook page.
Let's go on board the chase boat of Emirates Team New Zealand. Ray Davies will be probably gripping.
Showing the Kiwis ahead, coming out of their tacks on the final upwind leg, leg 5 of 6. Ray Davies, Coach Davies, bass playing Ray Davies.
Yeah, look, they did a great job. We had the initial lead off the line in the first exchange, and we protected the right-hand side, and the left-hand side paid at the end of that first beat, and they did a really good job of making a pass there, and they had pretty good composure at the top of the course. And then
And you wonder if the Kiwis
never over, and it's certainly not over yet.
put the DRS on there. YouTube in Europe is flawless and super good. Okay, I'm glad it's working. John Lambert's Van Buren. To watch the racing in Europe on YouTube. We can't watch it in the States. Free to air. We're behind a paywall, as most of you will know, on ESPN Plus. But, you know, it's not a princely sum. It's only $10.99 a month. Only a couple months of subscriptions. You can bail out anytime you want.
This is the race committee. We are moving the finish line. Course axis is now 0.68 and length is now 1.6 nautical miles.
Okay, so a little more of a left shift. If they've moved the course axis to 0.68, it was 0.70, 2 degrees. That's interesting. That's how accurate they are in there. You know, they've got the robot marks now, the Markset bots.
American Magic love these conditions, bouncy conditions. These are the races that you need at this level.
Peter Lester saying American Magic love these conditions. I think the Kiwis love these conditions. Whether American Magic does. Very calm, fighter pilot-esque comms within a boat, on both these boats, I think on all the boats.
So this will be an absolute leg burner for the Cyclones.
And American Magic having to, in desperation really, double tack, go back onto starboard tack to head upwind on the left side, see if they can find some pressure or a shift different from the Kiwis. Come on, show us the overhead, guys. This is interesting, but we really, you almost, instead of the onboard shots with the robo-cops, you want to put that in a PIP, a picture-in-picture. The Americans, having taken an extra tack now, are not going to be ahead, even if they've got a big lefty or big additional pressure. Plus, the giveaway boat. Kiwis will face plant them. There they go. The gates are even, so they can go for either end, is what I think Nate was telling Pete. May have been the other way around. Hard to tell the voices for me, at least.
Fantastic 3D there.
Americans tacking onto port.
Huge amount of oil being moved there for the Cyclones.
Yeah, a lot of tacking on this leg. Good point by Glenn Ashby. And you're going to see a split here. Kiwis going down the upwind left or the downwind right side of the track for the final leg. The Americans, it looks like, are going straight in, as you would expect. Go down the downwind left side of the track. And the delta is 16.
they'll be a little bit out of whack here.
Oh.
Under control. I think they've actually lost the rudder slightly there, so real wobbly.
These are hook and ladder machines. They are really strange machines. Sorry to say it for all of you who are big fans. Slingsby getting annoyed with Goofy taking control too early in the tacks. You mean Goody. I don't think you meant to call him Goofy. Paul Goodison, Goody. Superb sailor. A Brit. You got a Brit and an ostensible Aussie, although Tommy Slingsby, with his American mother and an American passport.
This is such a good race for American Magic, isn't it? It's the ultimate test against the
400 meters.
A race which doesn't count for anything. No prizes for this race, but goodness, they have sailed well.
Well, this will be a bit of an eye-opener for all the challengers, I suspect. A bit of a wake-up, not a wake-up call. They've been awake all the time. But Julie Aarons and others who are Kiwi supporters will say, I told you so, the Kiwis are the best and still the best. And you know, remember, too, these guys had that strange drop of their yacht onto this boat, onto their cradle 3 days ago.
Brilliant shot there of what it's like to get a ride in the cockpit of an
And had to skip a day of racing and do that overnight, kind of a non-stop for 48 hours, getting the boat repaired and buffed out and back in the water, and don't seem to have missed a beat. The damage seems not to have been too great. And those of you who maybe saw the video I posted on my Facebook page last night, the boat was right above the cradle, and it dropped with a thud, but it also didn't drop. It looked like it was still on the crane and being slowed in the drop a bit. I don't know, you tell me what you thought. And then that front cradle that we thought had been pushed forward by the boat dropping onto it because of the photos we saw right after it had happened. That front cradle apparently is movable fore and aft, so that when they're trying to get the boat in and out of the shed, they can drop the bow of the boat down and they get back in the shed and they bring it up, I guess. Okay, now they're calling this race 14. I think he misspoke in the earlier one. I think, Mark, you and I had this right. There is a W for the Kiwis. So they are undefeated in this round robin phase. Again, not that their points count.
And American Magic, they must have been feeling good when they got their initial pass. There were 3 lead changes in this race.
Yeah, 3 lead changes. There was 1 real lead change. Got to get the commentators. I got to build the excitement. Gordon Smith, you say you're thinking, let's come to you. You think this is the result of all the challengers would have guessed reliably. It is a win, but not by a massive margin in conditions that AM were the favorites. Why do you say they were the favorites, Gordon Smith? How can you say that? You want to come on the Zoom?
Yeah, I think the design metrics pointed to the fact that AM had some design choices which they took. They had a look at the weather conditions, sea conditions in Barcelona, and they said, right, this is the boat we're going to design. And that, like all the teams, that this particular boat is favoured in the flatter sea state and lower wind rate. Nothing wrong with that.
With this particular boat, meaning the Americans?
Yes, yeah. And in this particular sea state and wind conditions, if they were going to be very, very competitive, this was the race that they would be competitive. And I think they showed well. They've got lots of adjusting and tuning to go. I think this was a win, but not a huge win. I think AM did fine.
Okay, well, you are always optimistic and upbeat, always, which we enjoy very much. Thank you. But on the other hand, I think the American Magic boat, and we saw them beat the Kiwis in what condition? Remember that condition in the preliminary regatta? This is the Socratic method.
It's clear. Well, it wasn't windier than this.
No, it wasn't. It was lighter than this, and it was lumpy. It was that really lumpy race where they had a meter sea running, from the east. And I think American Magic is better in the light and the lump. And I think this uprange, flatter water probably is a advantage a bit for the Kiwis. But agreed, this was a fairly even match. I don't think there were 3 lead changes. I mean, the GPS showing a little bit of a change. Again, the GPS is not taking into account who's got attack yet before the next cross. I call it one solid lead change, but a good race nonetheless. Thanks, Gordon Smith, for you standing by in Copenhagen, and I hope you will stay with us for one more, as we're seeing Ferrari has won in Monza. Jonathan Shore is saying, yeah, Mark Atchison McIver said, Steve McIver said 3 lead changes. We just had that another one of these platitude interviews. Ferrari wins Monza. Thank you for that, Jonathan Shore. Another good sailor from a great sailing family. Bill Shore, his papa, his daddy in Newport, Rhode Island. And Lynn Jewel Shore, his mommy, Olympic medalist in '88. Lynn was. First female medalist in the, first female gold medalist in the Sailing Olympics, 1988 in Korea. Let's see what.
Definitely not much in it. So again, we're showing some good signs. We've just got to keep progressing and narrow the mistakes and keep improving.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Paul Goodison, Goody, the Brit, who's the B helm. I call him the B helm if they're on the port side. There's that cross.
Actually come look at their trail. They came down to build speed so that when there was the interaction, when
Shirley, you're the best. Great commentary.
They had pace and they flew right by.
They went into high mode. They went in, and of course, I think the Kiwis went down into low mode. Okay, now that's the end of round robin 1, as you heard Steve McIver said. Mick Ivor. And we're starting now in round robin 2, the Swiss against the French.
If that's what we've got to look forward to later on, bring it on.
I guess that, I don't know if they're going off the air now, if they're going to run this race or not. We're 2.5 hours into the day.
Great today. I guess a shout out for Lingy Red Bull Racing and their show crew, turning that around, getting them to the start line.
Sounds to me like they're about to go off the air, like there's not going to be a race.
Today, Glenn, was something that really stood out, what we've been really wanting to see. Everybody knocking heads.
I think we've seen a real lift in all the teams, and how well they're sailing the boats compared to a week or so ago. And I think the race for me between Orient Express Racing and Ineos Britannia, I think that was an absolute beauty, and I really think both teams, pushing each other hard, and I think that for me was one of the special moments of the day.
One final thought from both of you. I get this feeling.
Okay, they're going to, sounds like they're going out off the air at the bottom of the hour at 7:30 our time, which is going to be 16:30, 4:30 p.m. 2.5 hour TV window. They're back to that. Mark Holland saying race management changed the schedule this morning. No more racing today. So that means, does that mean we have racing tomorrow? Are they going to have on the, or will they take tomorrow off and stick that race that remains on today's schedule? Will they take that and stick that on to Tuesday's schedule?
The challenger team that everybody's chasing has got to be Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, but Emirates Team New Zealand is saying, you know what? You're going to have to do
I don't know the
to
answer.
beat us. Let's take a look at the standings. This one includes Emirates Team New Zealand, and there are the points, and it's, 4 points, New Zealand, Italy, and Great Britain. If you take them out of the equation, what does it say? It says what we really already know.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Prada
The
Pirelli,
Swiss, after round robin 1, are
close on their
in trouble. And I don't see how that's going to change much. I hope it does. I agree with Julie Ahrens. It'd be nice to see a change.
In the semi-finals of the Louis Vuitton Cup Challenger Selection Series, we shall just have to wait and see.
Thanks, Matthias
Coming up
Collins.
in a couple of days, tomorrow, it's a day off for the commentary team, but not for the teams.
Okay, so there was the answer.
It will be Alinghi Red Bull Racing against Orient Express.
They are going to race tomorrow, but we're not going to have television.
Absolutely wonderful Sunday here in Barcelona.
Okay, so they are going to run that race tomorrow, but the TV is dark tomorrow, so we will be dark tomorrow. We won't have anything to show you, so I'll prepare the Tuesday afternoon show tomorrow We'll go live again at 0500 on Tuesday morning for a watch party. Goodbye, Mark Atchison. And then we'll do our regular Tuesday afternoon show at 1300, our afternoon, 1300 Pacific. Julia Vedekant will be down here in the studio with me for that show. So no watch party tomorrow morning because apparently we're not going to have any TV. If that changes, keep an eye on my Facebook page, and we'll let you know otherwise as to what is going on, if in fact there is some TV coverage somehow, some way coming out of Barcelona. And if not, we'll see everybody on Tuesday morning at 0500. That gets us to the finish line today. Thanks to all of you. There's John B2, whose name we learned yesterday. I got it in my notes, John. Nice to have you on here. John B2. I got your last name, I thought. Well, we'll pick it up again. Jamie Hutchison, great show as always. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Richard Lawton. Thanks to all of you for the very kind comments. Patrice Rachlin. Hello, Patrice. Haven't seen you on today. Richard Gladwell, Media Center. Thanks, Richard. Says Monday, the 2nd of September is a non-racing day. Have sent you the text. Thank you. So the Media Center is saying it's a non-racing day. The TV guys just said it is a racing day, but no television. So we'll update you on my personal Facebook page and the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page. Thanks, everybody. Happy Labor Day if you're in the States. Tomorrow is our 3-day weekend at the end of our summer, our ceremonial end, really, of the summer. Labor Day is a day off for most people, even though the rest of the world celebrates Labor Day on May 1st. Most of you do. For some reason, my Facebook comments are not coming on YouTube. See you all Tuesday, 8:50 TBM. Yeah, we're sad we see your comment now. Michael Frank, thank you. Thanks, everybody. We are to the finish line. If you will, please push the follow button if you haven't already. Like, follow, and share this stream, whichever of the 3 platforms you're watching this on. And if you're watching it in replay, comments are welcome, even in replay, whether on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you very much for supporting us. Those of you who do via Patreon, become a patron and give us a few bucks a month. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And thanks again. I'm not trolling for breakfast. We got breakfast here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in a few minutes. My lunch. we had a nice door drop yesterday when I got off the air. Rich Fishbeck had dropped us a breakfast burrito, 2 of them, in fact, one for me and one for Julia Vedekant upstairs in the Commodore's quarters, which she also gladly chowed down on. She appreciated that very much, Rich Fishbeck. Monday, if they do race that other race, it looks light, and as you saw a couple of the comments, it looked also light. It looks light Tuesday and Wednesday, as Alex Hayworth was saying earlier. So it looks like we're going to stay in a relatively light patch, although thank goodness for a bit more breeze today. Okay, that's it. So thanks for watching. We'll see you not tomorrow. We'll take the day off tomorrow, and we'll see you on Tuesday morning at 0500 for the watch party, and then Tuesday afternoon at 1300 Pacific for our regular Tuesday Sailing Illustrated show. Have a great rest of your weekend. Ciao for now.